We're rolling into Week 10 with the Bengals and Ravens for our Thursday night matchup. We're going to deep dive this game to find our must-start fantasy football players for our lineups. We're also going to look at sneaky starts. We're going to look at guys that send to the moon. We're going to look at this matchup to see where the fantasy points could be scored, good or bad. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now, because we're doing deep dives on the trending players every day. We're looking at the matchups to help you set your lineups. We're also looking at the waiver wire extensively throughout the week. Click that button, stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. We're starting off with a game here at a 53 over-under. These guys played before, and it was fireworks. We are expecting fireworks again. And this matchup usually hits the over. Their last 3 games, they have hit the over. They are trending good for scoring a lot of points. We do not care if they hit the over or under. We care that they score a lot of points. We got a 53 over under. Vegas is saying that fireworks will be held tonight. They are betting on that, and the money is with that, so we are watching that closely. If it hits an under of 51, it still benefits us because a lot of points were scored. We're looking at the scoring threshold here. How can that break in this game? How could it break to where we only get 40, 45, 39, maybe turnovers? Maybe some sloppy play. However, when we watch these teams, the firepower both offenses have, we should see an explosion tonight. We should see some fun football. At least some fun football tonight. A lot of fantasy points scored. And when we look at a matchup like this, as we'll see when we deep dive these players, ancillary players are more than likely going to hit in a game like this. Your wide receiver 3s, your backup running backs, your second tight end, your tight end in general. You're going to get more fantasy points, or the odds are going to increase more likely for those players to contribute for your fantasy team. They are gambles. They're not guaranteed. But if you're going to pit that player, that wide receiver 3, and put them in your lineup against another guy on your bench, this is the type of matchup to look at. It's a good gamble to make. And you're looking at the games here historically. On October 6th, it was 41-38. Ravens took it home. A lot of points scored. Prior to that, November 16th of 2023, 34-20. Ravens take it home. Prior to that, September 17, 2023, 24-27. Over 50 points scored. Prior to that, 24-17. Not too bad. Not too bad in the scoring front. Not too low. About moderate right there. Last 3 games, though, we've hit the over. And Vegas is saying, hey, we got to put this threshold a little bit higher, because these two teams keep hitting the over on this. And looking at what they did earlier this year, and we had 42 pass attempts from Lamar Jackson, 39 from Joe Burrow, ball flying in the air, Chase Brown getting some work, and we're also seeing Derrick Henry get some work, which he always does, and which should be almost guaranteed. Zay Flowers going off. We're seeing multiple pass catchers get 5+ targets in this game. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. T. Higgins might not or shouldn't really be playing. He's doubtful. That being said, volume is going to be in this game. It might be all over the place, but there will be volume for fantasy points in this game. And you're looking at these 2 quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, that one's easy. I know what you're going to do with that one. Joe Burrow, if you're going to play him, it's a game like this. And if you're not going to play him in a game like this, why have him at all? That's the thing about that. On top of that, I do not suggest having 2 quarterbacks in 1 QB leagues. I suggest, you get your good quarterback, you got him, you rock the matchups. Your backup quarterback is the quarterbacks on waivers, and you play the matchups if something bad is happening. If you have Joe Burrow, he's your main quarterback. This is a good matchup to look at for him, because the volume is going to be there, and Vegas is predicting that. So there's a good chance for that. I'm not saying it, it's not a prediction, but there's a good chance for that. The odds are in the favor for both these quarterbacks. We're looking at the run game here for the Cincinnati Bengals. I do not expect Khalil Herbert to get a lot of volume in this game, but he is projected to play a little bit. They're saying that in the media. We're watching out for that. Good luck to you if you start him. Good luck. Your team's hurting that bad. I feel bad for you. Chase Brown, though, should be getting volume, should be getting opportunities. Last 3 games, the Ravens are a little bit more than average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to running backs, 26.2 PPR points a game to those running backs. On the season, though, 19.8. Recently, we've seen Javonte Williams score points, Rashod White, Austin Eckler. Chase Brown scored 14.4 against them earlier in the season. Nick Chubb got silent against them. However, when we're looking at Chase Brown, we already seen what he was capable of against the Baltimore Ravens. We might see something like that again. I say 10's like your minimum threshold. It's hard to see him busting with like a 5 spot on you unless he gets hurt. I say 10's like your minimum. I can see us pushing 15 or more. Really depends on what we do in the passing game and if we can cross that goal line. Watch Kendall Milton. He's a fun prospect. He's a fun ad for the Bengals. I'm not saying he's going to be fantasy relevant tonight, but he is a prospect for deep leagues, dynasty leagues, whatever, to pay attention to, because that could be a sneaky option down the road if you get some opportunity and flashes. That's not a prediction. That's just saying, hey, just pay attention to this dude. Watching the passing game here for the Bengals, T. Higgins is more than likely out. If he's in, they're more than likely going to use him, and he's more than likely going to get opportunities. You're not going to feel good about that, so that's a gut decision on you. Jamar Chase. You're starting Jamar Chase in a matchup like this. The Ravens are worse than league average by 31.3% in their last 3 games when it comes to allowing fantasy points to wide receivers. 32.5% ahead of league average on the season, and then 47.7% in their last 5 games. And you're just looking at the list here, you're getting something. You're getting something from everybody. Jamar Chase hung 41.3 PPR fantasy points on the Ravens. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's Jamar Chase. You're starting him. This is an easy call. Yoshi, though. He could be that ancillary pass catcher that gets some work here that could sneak something by. He's a gamble. You're looking at him. You don't have to pick him up off waivers. You don't have to do that. This is a good matchup if you're hurting at wide receiver, if you want to make that play. Jermaine Burton is a guy to watch. I'm not saying to play him, but he's a guy to watch. He can get it downfield. He's got a good release. I would not be surprised if he surprises you with a big catch down the line in this game or something like that. Would not be surprised at all. Again, you're not starting him, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. That is a play that you may want to look at. He is playing in this game. He might be a stash for those deeper leagues as well. We're looking at Gesicki, and if you're going to start Gesicki, this is one of those matchups to do so. The Ravens are around league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to tight ends. And what does that really mean? The good tight ends, the tight ends that get volume, typically score fantasy points against them. The tight ends that don't kind of lay eggs against them. Gesicki scored 5.1 PPR fantasy points against them in week 5. Higgins is going to be out, and it's all about those goal line targets, those red zone looks for Gesicki. He's also getting decent volume in this offense, 36 targets on the season, 353 receiving yards. We're going to probably finish the year somewhere between 700 and 800 yards on the year. That being said, there's opportunity in this matchup. He's a good play because there's going to be points scored. It's a good gamble to make, and they're allowing fantasy points to tight ends. 3 of their last 4 games, over 10 PPR fantasy points to tight ends. Again, tight ends are gambles because of the position. They do not run as deep a routes as wide receivers, so even if they're racking up targets, it's hard for them to score and rack up fantasy points. They pretty much got to get that target in the red zone, in the end zone to score. That being said, they're always going to be gambles. So even if he gets 5 or 6 targets in this matchup and the matchup flows well for him, he may not score enough to help you, but that's the gamble at the tight end position. You're looking at running back here. Derrick Henry is the king. He's going to get the work. You might get a little bit less production than average out of Derrick Henry, but he's still going to hit. Bengals are allowing 14.4 PPR fantasy points per game in their last 3 games to running backs. That's 38% lower than league average. Last 5 games, 17.4 and 20.5 on the season. Last time, he got 16.6 PPR fantasy points. Looking at the numbers here, no matter what, you're going to be fine with what you get out of him. Say you get what Saquon Barkley did, 12.1 PPR fantasy points. You're going to be okay. It's going to be hard for him to hit his floor in this game. There's going to be a lot of volume. He's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get the availability to break one free. Justice Hill is always a dart throw. Just with him and the targets in the passing game, it's just the volume there. Can he bring in a couple extra targets? Can he pop one loose? He's just a gamble that hits once every few games. Keaton Mitchell is back. Are we going to see him get some touches? That is the big question. Just him coming out, breathing on the field is going to be an exciting moment. Like, if he takes one carry, and if it's even for 3 yards, we're going to be excited for him, but we're not expecting him to make an impact in this game. It's the Derrick Henry show, and it's going to be the Derrick Henry show for the rest of the season, unless something happens to him. We're looking at the wide receivers here for the Ravens, and the one thing to note against this Bengals defense, when you look at weeks 4 and 5, Diontae Johnson went off on them. Then right after it, Zay Flowers went off against them. Both wide receivers know how to scheme up against this defense and knows how to play against this defense as well. They are proven. They are proven to play against these DBs. And then Rashod Bateman is the deep threat. Zay Flowers has been studly in this offense. I expect him to continue to get work. I expect Diontae Johnson to get more work in this game. And when the ball is flying in this matchup and both these teams are scoring points, I look for all 3 of these wide receivers to get opportunities. Rashod Bateman's going to get those deep balls. He's going to be highly volatile. If he can bring in a deep catch or 2, he could hit on you. The odds are immensely against him, though, being consistent and being a reliable bet. However, there's upside here. There's massive downside as well. I have to bring that up for those guys who can't read between the lines. Diontae Johnson is volatile too because of the unknown, but I look for him to get more work, more routes ran, more targets in this matchup than prior, and get eased into more workload as we move forward. This is a good matchup to push this. Zay Flowers is in a prime spot here. There's not a reason why you wouldn't want to start him. I know you could see Diontae Johnson and Rashod Bateman, but this is a prime matchup where the ball's going to be flowing. It's projected to do so. You're going to start him. The good or bad's going to come, but process-wise, that's what it's saying. You're looking at the tight ends here. Isaiah Likely's out. Mark Andrews probably going to get a lot of run. Be on the lookout for a Charlie Kohler experience here just in case things get tricky. However, the Bengals allow fantasy points to tight ends. They're above league average. Brock Bowers went off against them. David Njoku went off against them. Isaiah Likely went off against them. Those are the 3 main tight ends that have scored against them. Good tight ends can produce in a box score against this team, and usually they are in game scripts where the ball is flying to allow that to happen and targets are going everywhere. Brock Bowers is scoring on everybody, but Mark Andrews, still good to go in some situations. Charlie Kohler, due to ancillary targets and ancillary routes, might be getting some opportunity with Zay Likely out. So if you want to get frisky in DFS on the cheap, that might be a player to look at. That's the Week 10 Thursday night matchup. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.